Today we are doing our discussion of For the King, release date April 19th, 2018, developed by Iron Oak Games, published by Curve Digital, costs $20 on Steam and presumably everywhere else, and platformed on Linux, Microsoft Windows, and Mac OS. The overview of the game is it is a turn-based RPG where you have 3 party members. You fight enemies and... Oh wait, no, that's not the... Fuck, that's not the game description, that's just the game overview that I wrote down. Fuck. For the King is a strategic RPG that blends tabletop and roguelike elements in a challenging adventure that spans the realm. Set off on a single-player experience or play cooperatively both online and locally. Nailed it. First try. Okay, so we just go through, introduce ourselves, and say how much time we have with the game. I'm Zach. I think I have about 20 hours on this. Like, obviously we've all played the Into the Deep campaign all the way through, but I have a little... I've played the base campaign. It's called For the King. I've never beaten it, so yeah, about 20 hours, and I think that was I have a pretty good idea of what I think about the game. And I think the game is pretty good. I think it's way too hard, and that honestly kind of cuts into the fun, but that's about my opinion.
Last time we played it, we made it all the way through.
Yeah, but...
True, how many times did it take us to do that?
Yeah, we did... I think we tried, or... I think we got very lucky early on, and I think that's really the only reason we finished it, because we barely beat it.
Well, we also had to restart because the first time we did it at a 1 difficulty higher and then lost instantly.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't even think we got to like. I don't even remember if we got to the first town before we died. It was like the first combat, and like we died a couple of times.
Wasn't it was like, hey, we could probably do this cave?
I was like, nah.
Well, anyways, I'm Nick, and I've got 10 hours into the game, and it's mostly that one campaign we did together.
Yeah, that took
I played, like
fucking forever.
I played
like
maybe
a whole day.
30 minutes of the original For the King campaign, but I'd say in the right circumstances, this game's like really fun. Like, definitely gotta have at least friends with you, and then really think of it as like a tabletop game. Like board game.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games that feels like a board game.
It's like board game meets D&D in a way.
Except D&D is not nearly this bullshit with its difficulty curve.
So I'm Mitch. I have 27 hours logged on Steam, and I've played a bunch more on Switch as well. Mostly same thing, like 10 hours of that was that last campaign we played together, but then I've also played through the original campaign probably 3 times. Well, not actually finished it, but I've attempted it like 3 or 4 times with Zach, and then also with Carly, but we've never finished that one. We only got like maybe a third to halfway through, probably.
Yeah, we got part of the way through. I think a big, like... it's obvious we all played through the Into the Deep campaign together, and I think a big bonus of that campaign is the boat, because you're able, like, all 3 of your characters are able to use their movement to move the boat around, so you get around really fast, and I think that's one of the reasons it was a little bit easier.
I also think to some extent we had a lot more experience, like you and me, Zach, like knowing what's going on and what to expect, and like kind of having some idea of like how we should build our like class loadout between the 3 characters, because if you have a really bad character setup, it's going to be hard to get through everything. Yeah,
you definitely, even under ideal circumstances where you know what you're doing, even on the easiest mode, it's still going to be really hard.
Maybe we just suck, because there's like 3 more difficulties higher than what we played.
Yeah, I'm sure there are like certain strategies you can do, but yeah, It's so strange because it feels like it should be a very casual game, but it does not have a very casual difficulty. It's got a very unforgiving difficulty. And obviously I think there's plenty of content in this game because we have only played 2 of the 6 game modes. I don't know if all of the game modes are as long as the campaigns we've played, because there are a couple different other ones, but assuming they're all roughly the same length, that's a lot of content, especially with the higher difficulty modes. If you're willing to put the time in and willing to deal with the difficulty curve of it, I think it can be a very fun game, but it's definitely not a super casual game.
Well, aren't each of the modes pretty similar? Like, Into the Deep, the one we played, like, we had to defeat that giant sea monster out in sea by a certain time, right?
Yeah, we had to clear out the water temples and eventually fight the Sea King.
Yeah,
And then you're just always worrying about like the scourge coming and like building up and making you lose.
Yeah, yeah,
like
that's
the original.
yeah. That was pretty similar to the and from the descriptions of the other ones, they all sound fairly similar, just kind of different settings.
Just
Yeah, I
slightly
think the
different
original-
objectives.
The original one had like different enemies that we would fight and different temples to go after, and it was a completely different map. There's a lot less water in the original one.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
I'm sure that some of the enemies change too because they'll be in different environments.
yeah. Like in the frozen tundra one looked like fighting polar bears and ice monsters and stuff.
Yeah, because For the King, there's Frost Adventure, Into the Deep, Dungeon Crawl, Hillebrandt's Cellar, and then Gold Rush. And the last 3, Dungeon Crawler, Hillebrandt's Cellar, they seem more like the Dungeon Crawler is probably just going through like a cave endlessly.
Yeah,
Just see how far you can go.
Yep.
And I'm sure that Hillebrandt's Cellar is similar.
yeah.
For reasons why I think in certain circumstances, mostly like friends, you want friends to play this game to like even make it fun. It's like when I first tried it on my own, immediately I was very frustrated and got real annoyed by having to move each character themselves. And it felt like a ton of work for myself and like a lot of time to pass just to move some tiles for each character. Compared to when it was like each of us get to control one.
Yeah.
Because then
It definitely doesn't.
RPG turn like.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like a game that's very fun by yourself. Because it's set up in a way that like each character should be kind of controlled by an individual person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Matt.
kind of think if they combined all the character movements and like just piled everyone onto one token and like move as one unit, it could probably work for like single player. It's just like moving around and stuff was the most frustrating part.
Yeah, and it is pretty nice that you can like do local co-op or online co-op, or all the functionality surrounding that is done really well. I think the kind of how you basically this game, like most I don't think I would call this a roguelike game, but a lot of games similar to this, you unlock more stuff in the game the more you play it through lore books that you find while playing the game, and it allows you to unlock more characters and more items and more like events, like markets that you can go to during the game, and that's pretty nice. You get more lore books the higher the difficulty you play, and you unlock stuff fairly quickly as you play.
That's right, we unlocked one character when we beat that one campaign.
Yeah,
there's, like,
More than just
there's
like the lumber, the bard, and the
Yeah.
hunter.
Because there's like 5 more classes I think you can unlock over time.
Yeah, there's a bunch. I think I had a spiel prepared for the beginning of this to kind of describe the game a little bit more, because otherwise we tend to just Like, if somebody was just viewing this as somebody who didn't know what this game was, it would be kind of confusing. But yeah, basically, it's a turn-based game. I'll edit in some fucking gameplay footage or whatever. You've got 3 party members, you fight enemies, clear dungeons, deal with challenges to get gold, items, and level up to get stronger. There are challenges and items that require different skills to use, like strength, intelligence, talent, whatever. You complete quests and complete objectives to progress the story, and eventually, hopefully, win the game. So, like, you've got... It's actually a little... It is pretty similar to D&D. You've got, like, these skill checks that you'll do, and the higher your skill, the more likely that you're going to successfully do it. So if you're in a dungeon and you see a trap, the person with the highest evasion will have the best likelihood of getting through it without getting hit. And, like my character when we were playing... if you see a door that you can't get through and you have a high enough strength, you can just smash your way through the door.
Yeah, I like that a little bit. Like, everybody was each good at something in each scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The bow
we
guy
had
last time, right? I was on like, the hunter. I don't know
Yeah.
what they were called.
Yeah, I was the bard. Zach was the warrior, or the lumberjack, or whatever.
Yeah, I was the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was all about evasion. I had like really high evasion, so it was like hard to get hit, but I had really low health.
Mm-hmm.
But even though we were good at something, like, it's hilarious to just like run into a tile and then it's like your worst stat. You have to roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Yep.
shit. So I like those outcomes a lot. Or like just the tile pieces out there of like pray at the shrine, and if you just pray good enough, like get some permanent buff or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the overall worldview, because it very, very much looks like you're looking down at a board game that you like constructed out of hexagonal pieces.
Yeah, it's got that like HeroScape vibe almost.
Yeah, yeah, that makes it cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is just it's a very easy way to make a fun game, is to just make a board game and then hopefully add some elements that make it more accessible, because like that's basically what like Mario Party is. It's basically a big board game with like video game mini games, or like Civilization is basically just a board game with resource counters.
And yeah, this game could easily emulate this with just a pair of dice.
Yeah, definitely. What did both of you think of the art style? Because the art style, I don't know. I don't think the art style is anything special, but I think it's,
I
it
think
works.
that they do a good job of being very cohesive. I like the art style. It's definitely not like the most unique or anything, but everything is very cohesive in their low poly art style.
Yeah, I think it really just does its job. It's nothing. It makes you kind of give it a second look, just because it's kind of low poly. Colors pop out a little bit.
Yeah,
It's more unique on the market.
like I think games can have like not super appealing art and still be fine as long as they got good mechanics. Like one of my favorite like video game kind of card game things is Slay the Spire, and I think Slay the Spire has fucking awful art. I think it's like if I look at something and I'm like, I can digitally paint something better than that, then I know it's not great. But I'm not saying this game has bad art. I just think it's simple, it's functional, it gets the job done.
It's one of those things where I'm sure to some extent they wanted to do a cheaper art style to focus more on the mechanics, because there's a lot of monsters in this game.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
by having a more reduced art style in a way, then it takes less time to make as much character art as they would need to.
Yeah,
Because
you
there are
don't.
so many characters.
Yeah, you don't need to animate it super well. It's basically just like, oh, you're moving miniatures around, basically. So, yeah, I think the art style is fine. I think the music is really good. I like the music for this.
Honestly, I can't even remember it.
I think I had the music turned off last we played, so I don't remember either.
You uncultured swine.
Normally I leave music on, but I think it just got tiring after a while.
Yeah, it like most games, game music that you listen to for hours, it can get pretty old. Especially like we played the game in one sitting and it took like at least 10 or 11 hours.
Yeah, it was just 10 hours straight.
Just fucking ridiculous.
Like, I'm just turning the music on now, I'm listening to it, and it does sound... It's very relaxing, and it fits the atmosphere of the environment and stuff. But I can see why I turned it off. Like,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
like, after, 5 hours of this, I'd be like, please, turn something
Oh,
else
man.
on.
We were playing that game of Civ 6 or something, and there was just like one of... I think I was the Russians, and eventually, I think it was like the modern era, because like the music changes between the different areas. There was one era where I just hated the music so goddamn much, and that was like an era later in the game, so you were in it longer, and I was just like, oh my god, fuck this music so much.
There's definitely only so much you can do with music. Like, you can enjoy it as a thing you hear occasionally, but once you're in that position where you hear the music constantly, it loses the level of its value.
Yeah, I think there can be some music that I can listen to for like a long time, but it has to be pretty subtle, like subtle background music for it to not be like really grating.
Yeah, I'm very much the opposite as you guys. I drown out music in every video game.
I do that with a lot of video games.
So good that like I remember it or like think of it.
Yeah.
I'm actually actively listening to it.
Like
Otherwise, it's kind of just background music.
yeah, like I do that with a lot of games. Like I was listening to like a podcast while playing Hollow Knight, and I actually really like the soundtrack of Hollow Knight, but sometimes I just prefer to be distracted. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about? Really?
Items and stuff.
I do like with the item system, and that because you have a party and you get a bunch of items, that there's a lot of like communal management of stuff.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's
I got this thing. Do you guys want this?
yeah,
Like,
it's the
bring it to
classic
your party.
like it's the classic RPG or
Yeah.
multiplayer RPG thing of like, okay, we found this thing. It deals damage with strength. Okay, whose strength? Oh, it's going to you. Or we got this piece of armor and it works with like high talent, or oh, it can go to anybody who is missing shoes or whatever. And
Like,
That-
This is
that-
definitely a game where
Yeah.
you can't be stingy and like hold pieces and be selfish.
yeah, you
You
can't
have to maximize everyone as much as possible.
yeah,
Definitely.
you can't
You
just
can't be
play for
selfish.
yourself, yeah.
Being
Like
selfish in this game is suicide for the party.
yeah, unlike D&D where if you're a rogue, you just steal everything.
Especially with the healing items in this game. Every time we get one, it'd be such a goddamn blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Healing was definitely not easy to come by always in this game.
yeah, it's because of like the difficulty curve I was talking about earlier is like every time I don't know if it's every time you level up or every time like you progress in the game stuff gets more expensive. I think it's every time you level up, maybe.
I think so.
But
Yeah, and that could be really frustrating too. Like, it makes sense because as you get further in the game, everything drops more money, but at the same time, then you're always fighting your money pool.
yeah.
Because every time you want to buy some new healing items, you're like, oh, but I need a new weapon.
Like I feel
Or-
like there should be like a system of like, oh, you can still buy the old stuff, but it's not going to heal you as much. You need like every RPG is like, oh, you've got the small healing potion, you got the medium healing potion, you got the large healing potion, and each one like exponentially gets more expensive. But I don't know.
And this
I've-
one, it's
That
different
would've been
because
good.
you're like, it's kind of weird in this one because you're upgrading your like pipe, so you're better at smoking.
yeah, you're
Which
you're
is
better
really-
at consuming the herbs that give you different like bonuses or heal you or whatever.
Yeah. It is kind of a weird system because, like, you said, if we did have a system of like tiers of healing items, like, what is that healing item called? God's Beard. So if you had like God's Beard, if there was like God's Beard +1 and then God's Beard like +5 or something, like, and like throughout the game you'd have to start buying the higher tiered ones because your health pool is bigger. I think that would make a lot more sense than just having all the money values scale as you progress through the game.
Mm-hmm.
It just would feel better. It's just that it's a tiny little change that makes the systems not feel as good.
Yeah, it's like a system that makes it feel less fair. It's like if you were, like if I was playing D&D and someone was like, "Oh, it costs 5 gold to stay at the inn," and you come back like you're level 20 or whatever, and they're like, "It is 1,000 gold to stay at the inn." You'd be like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah. That's definitely the worst.
Like, oh, I just lost it. Mitch, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say it's like the worst when you're like at a store that you've been to before and you buy like one of the God's Beard, but then you come back to that same store like 20 turns later and he still has those same last 2 God's Beard, but now they cost 10 times more.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think like also, oh, okay, I remembered. What also like puts a lot of pressure on the system too is the time that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, well, I'd love to spend like maybe the next turn or 2 here to just farm like a couple more guys, so then I can buy some healing items and like a new weapon or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, this next turn you're gonna get your ass, go get healing items, and then start heading to the next temple to like shut that down.
Yeah, because there's those like the Scourge that appear every so often, and then those guys added like a new negative modifier to the game. So then you have to go deal with that guy as fast as possible because some of those negative modifiers are like detrimental to like your success in the game.
Yeah, like some negative modifiers make it so that everything costs more, or plenty of other bad things. Or there are like the negative modifiers where like the chaos increases, and if it gets to 3, you just lose. So the game does have like a hard time limit on how long stuff will take.
Yeah,
See,
it's
now,
definitely designed in a way that you can't dilly-dally. Like, it's like you need to keep moving, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because you can't slow down, because if you do, then you're going to fall behind on preventing all of this buildup of the to your loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if they took away like that timing, like, or if they had a mode that like takes away that timing, then I think I would like the buying system more with everything scaling. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah,
But
they
with
might with some of those other modes, they might have different time scaling. Because some of the ones that like looked like you just went on endlessly on the dungeon, I'm sure you have no time scale. It's just like go as long as you can.
Yeah, that one definitely. What is there any other items besides like the God's Beard, weapons? Wasn't there like
there was
another
like
for cured effects?
there was a Panax for like poison cure, I think, and like
But there was like nothing else really.
there was like an anti-curse one. There's a few different herbs. I think there's like 5 different herbs. One gave XP.
One gave like the action points, like the things that you spent to like automatically succeed on stuff. And I actually do like the system of like rolling, like, oh, you've got a certain number of successes, so you succeed. I actually I forget exactly what that version of D&D is called, but I know they use it in the Star Wars D&D, where you like roll X number of dice, and if you get a certain number of successes, you just succeed. And you can also like roll certain dice to like add to your score or whatever. Like you can use like inspiration points in D&D and stuff.
Yeah, I'm seeing an image of the screenshot of like someone taking a cult device, and it's like 4 things that they would need to succeed, but they only need 3 to actually like pass the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then they have a whole chart of like 0, you get +1 chaos. If you get 1, you get +5 party damage.
A lot of that reminds me of like Betrayal at House on the Hill, with like the different stats, negatives, and bonuses that you get. like depending on how you roll and going in and out of rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, this feels really familiar. Where do I know this from? And I'm like, figured it was another board game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just looking through some more, I didn't know there was alcohol. This store I'm in right now has some rum, which gives armor and resistance plus 50, but causes confusion.
Does it
Wonder if
last
you-
like a certain amount of turns?
It doesn't specify.
I mean, we don't need to go through every item in the game.
Well, I was just curious about the items, because, like, is it just, like, the plants and then armor? Like,
There was also some scrolls, like there was like a teleport scroll.
Yeah, to like you be able to use certain spells. Oh yeah,
that's right.
you got like the teleportation scrolls and stuff like that. Because there was that one time where we got stuck on an island and we didn't have a boat and couldn't get back to the
yeah.
mainland. Because we got fucked by the Kraken or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that
Um,
Kraken. I don't know how we ended up surviving the Kraken.
Yeah. That
Lucky.
was rough. And my character didn't even survive through the game. I died on the Sea King. Died like a goddamn hero.
did your job. You were the tank, and you tanked till you.
Yeah, you guys dragged my bloated corpse across the finish line.
Yeah, just barely too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barely. Like,
Like I think the only reason we ended up winning is because I had that mushroom.
oh
that
yeah,
prevented me from dying.
yeah.
Like,
We
I
had
ate a
like
mushroom.
we had a bunch of those mushrooms that like let you survive death with one hit point, and we just kept using that. And
Yeah,
it was
'cause
just
I
like-
think
Relied on your dodges too.
yeah, definitely.
just all that evasion and then the mushrooms for like just in case I get hit.
Yeah, it was like we had the best ship in the game, and we were all level 20, and we were all pretty decked out, and we just barely won.
We won by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
like right at the last hour, just on the wire.
Hmm. But like, it did feel very satisfying. But
It definitely leaves you with a story of like your adventures once you get through all of it.
yeah, if we had died on the final boss, that would have sucked.
Oh yeah.
Sure would never play the game again. God damn it.
I don't know about that, but I without other people, I probably would not play this game very much. Maybe
Yeah, just-
maybe if I was super into RPGs like this or stuff like that, I would, but it's much more of a party game.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I was just looking through. I opened up and ran a Hillbrant Cellar, which is like the second to last in the created adventure. It's
Mhm.
pretty much like instead you don't have any of the map. You're just in like the dungeon route, but instead of being on the underground, you're on the surface, and you like go through a few different encounters, and like go underground. So it just seems like it's just a encounter based only instead of the map part.
So
Okay.
it's like the dungeon crawler one, but like not in the dungeon necessarily.
Yeah, it seems pretty cool because there's a tracker on like how many rooms you can clear, and then there's like shops that show up occasionally. But it's basically just like you just keep going as long as you can survive. I think that'd be a fun one to try sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
It's simpler. You don't have to like. think
You don't
too
have
much
to,
about
like-
where we're going on the map and stuff.
You don't have to like
Lot of
balance all those different like chaos elements and stuff. Well, I mean, I guess you still might, but
It didn't look like it, but who knows?
yeah, might just be a slightly more simple version of it.
Oh yeah, it says right there, endless dungeon challenge mode.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I figured it would have something like that.
That's pretty much all I have to say.
I
Yeah.
don't know what else. I don't know. It's a cool game.
Yeah.
You
You got bosses, you got boss items. Those are pretty cool. You've got different you go on quests for like each city you get to. I think there's one quest. And you can go on quests to get different resources like gold or XP or an item or Something like that. Like there's a bunch else like kind of to this game, but that kind of sums up the basics of it. It's not a super complicated game.
No, it's just difficult to start like snowballing and then keeping your snowball.
Yeah, it's definitely about staying ahead of the game's curve, because there's definitely a curve to it. Like, it'll have like night mode, and like the further you get, the stronger monsters that'll spawn, and depending on what area you're in.
And when you're under leveled, it's really hard.
Oh, it sucks.
Like,
yeah.
as soon as you get like one level behind the enemies around you, it starts getting a lot harder to survive.
Or you're the
Two levels
lowest
behind
level,
and you're, like,
or you're the
screwed.
lowest level in your party, and it's just so much easier to die until you're like actually at the level. Because you can like find certain like bonuses or shrines that'll get you like a bunch of experience and kind of get certain people ahead of others. So you really need to make sure like everyone is keeping up.
There's a few times where I think we accidentally got like one person like a whole level and a half higher than everyone else.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it did level out basically towards the end.
Well, and you could start once you realize how far ahead you are. You can kind of start balancing who goes to pick up what, and it's like a trading game. Like, no, you don't take this. Like, we need to give this XP to these other people to like pull us up a little bit. But in general, I think this game, what makes this game work is that you get to play with other people and do it as a party. Like, what I think sells it is like that experience of like being a team and like working through these challenges together.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a teamwork focused game, which is why I think it works better if you're playing it with other people. Because if you're playing it by yourself, it's more or less just I'm gonna balance these 3 different characters, and maybe if you really want to like micromanage each character individually and like see how you do based on that, it's probably might not be terrible, but I definitely think it's better with other people.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning, as you said, like it's 3 people, which is pretty uncommon for a lot of games to feature better co-op. It's like usually 2 or 4, not usually 3, where this game is 3.
Otherwise, I think I've exhausted all the notes I have. Would you recommend this game to somebody?
I would recommend it if you have other people to play with, not by yourself though.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
It's also a local co-op. You don't have to play this online. If you own one copy, you can play locally.
Yep. Does this game work with the like Steam local co-op thing?
I would assume so. I'll have to check this. Let me check the store page. That called the remote play.
Yeah,
Remote
we've been
play
doing.
Together. Yeah, it does have remote play together.
Yeah, although I think this is one of the few games where remote play might actually work together, because it's turn-based, so you don't have to worry about fucking tons of lag.
Yeah.
Like we had to with
Trine 4.
Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, check the game out. If it looks like your kind of game, then it might just be worth it. Also, the next game we're playing is Journey. Yeah, should be
do that a second time.
Should be a lot easier to get through that than this game.
When you guys play Journey, make sure if you want to like find all the collectibles, make sure you explore before you keep moving on, because there's a few spots where you can't backtrack, and I missed a lot of collectibles.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a single player game, and you move through the game. There are some parts that you can't go back to.
Yeah, there's like certain things that you'll like checkpoints you hit where it like kind of like whooshes you forward into the next area, and there's no backtracking after that.
Okay.
But you want to get all the collectibles, because the more collectibles you get, the better your jump is, and the longer your scarf is.
Oh, Cool. All right. Yeah, I will definitely keep that in mind.